Hi, Darren from EZE Outback Supplies again. I'm going to talk to you about one of our popular sharpening products, the EZEsharp Blade Sharpener. Now, we've made a few small improvements to the sharpener, which I'm going to talk to you about. Now, first up, the blade sharpener was originally designed with about a 1.5 to 2 mil gap. And the reason for the 1.5 to 2 mil gap originally was the knife sharpener was designed to use for the meat and the hospitality industry. So we're talking about narrow spine blades. They'll fit in there perfectly without any adjustment on there, just to tighten up. What we do get asked for these days is, can you sharpen a wide spine blade? Obviously, when you do the comparison between the two, you'll see this one is considerably wider. Now, some of the changes we've made to the sharpener to allow this to take place is the screws. So we now have a second set of screws, which are slightly longer. I'll just show you the difference there. We're talking a 10 mil and we're talking about a 12 mil screw. Now, the reason why we have the 10 and the 12 mil screws, and just quickly show you where they go in these three here. They're the ones that tighten the knife and lock it into the sharpening jig here to allow us to do the sharpening. Now, what we'll do is we'll cut out and we'll come a bit closer and we'll talk about how that works. All right, I've set it up with the three longer screws in there now, so we're ready to do the wider blade. You'll see that the plates are still quite tight and the gap is to suit things like the meatwork knives or the butchering type knives. But we're going to do the wider spine blade like I mentioned before, so I'll show you how we're going to do that. I'm just going to start off. I use a bit of masking tape, and I have that always sitting on my sharpening bench. And the whole idea of the masking tape is we can just run that along the spine of the blade like I've done there, and it's to protect the knife. So sometimes you'll have Damascus kitchen knives or even Damascus hunting and survival knives. You are metal on metal, so it doesn't hurt to pop that in there. It also helps a little bit with the grip, but it is there to protect the blade. So what I'm going to do is show you how we will now undo this to set it up to put the wider blades in. You've got the Phillips screws on each of these sides, so I'm just going to undo those about half a turn each. Don't need to get overexcited. By the time you do both sides, your half turn, you'll find straight away our plates have opened right up. So I've had the screws for the Allen screws are all set, so the end of the screws are in line with the plate. That allows us to open up that blade there. I normally like to have my knife on the left-hand side, my handle. So you'll see that will go in there. If you can come up a little bit higher, you'll see we're picking up on top of the tape to protect the blade. I'm just going to nip it up a little bit with the Allen screws, just dipping it up on these guys, because what I would like to do is I'll just bring up the Phillips again as well. It's just something I like to do. So I still have that opportunity to come in here, and you'll see you can still get a bit of tightness on those just by keeping everything even. It keeps the line of your blade nice and straight down through this way, if you can see what I was talking about. Now I'll come back and nip it up properly. The knife's now ready to sharpen. So you'll select your angle over on this side here that we want to do for that particular type of blade. Once you choose the angle you like, you go straight in, and there's your angle ready to do your sharpening on that particular knife. So that's setting up for the wider spine blades. Now, just a couple of little things that I'll mention for the reasoning for the two different sets of screws. So with this particular blade here with the longer screws, you can see that the screw only protrudes through a small distance, which means there's no issues there. Couple of things that you make sure you're protecting is the bar. If you're using the short screws with the wider plate, there is the potential to actually over tighten and strip out the particular bar there. Doesn't happen very often, but that's one of the reasons why we have the longer screws. The flip side, the reason for the shorter screws for things like your trade knives is to make sure, because once this closes down, that screw comes further on a longer one, the screw will protrude too far. If you're running shallower angles, like that particular one there, with a normal kitchen knife, you run the risk of picking up the tops of the screws rather than the actual blade edge itself. So longer screws for the wider blades or the thicker spine, and the shorter screws for your normal meatwork kitchen knives that have got the narrower spine. Hope that helps your sharpening, everyone.